All right, welcome back. Double check again, make sure everything's right. Making sure everything's working right. There we go. Welcome back. We're still here at well, this is World Tour Flight 218. We're flying from Saint Martin, France, Grand Case Saint Martin on the island of Saint Martin in the Caribbean, back down to Saint Barth's. We're on the Saint Barth Commuter, Cessna 208 B Grand Caravan, Flight 1231. Now the ATC is going to still say 120 because I can't change that here in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I can't really use FS HUD ATC because it's saying the runway's too short for our plane to take off, even though it actually isn't for this plane, but it is if we were flying a commercial airliner, of course, or an airliner, I mean, jet airliner. We're in a turboprop, we can do it. All right, so let's get inside the plane. Going to be another short flight, only 17 nautical miles. I think we ended up doing 34. Kind of went around the island before we landed. All right, so let's jump in here. Battery switch on. Avionics on. And again, not much to do with the avionics. Flight plan is basically what we already have. Now, I want to clear this. We need to flip it around. We only need to clear the beginning. So origin, we're going to be coming out of here, which is what I want? It is. Tango Foxtrot, Golf, enter. Set runway. Get a runway. Let's see what we got. Moon ground. And we just want to depart straight out.
At ground, BLACKFIN 120 request taxi for takeoff, departing straight out.
BLACKFIN 120 taxi to and hold short of runway 12 via taxiway. Contact tower on 118.7 when ready.
Okay, so we landed runway 30. Now we're going to take off runway 12. Now I'm wondering if that's just what the ATC is saying. Our sim brief probably says 0. Yeah, see, just landed on 30. You'd think we'd, but we'll go off of this. Winds, probably are not. Go.
Taxi to and hold short runway 12 using taxiway, BLACKFIN 120.
Destination, Tango Foxtrot, Juliet. Enter, and that's all we need. We're obviously going runway 10. And that's it. We are ready to go. So let's, well, not hold your horses. We're not ready to go yet. We need to do sim brief. And we need to pull up the weights and balances. Weight and balance. And our payload is going to be 358. Add a little bit of fuel. And then our payload, we have 7 passengers this time, so let's add another passenger. Put it up there. And a little bit more cargo than our last flight. Perfect. Weights and balance. Anything else? Ooh. Ground services, we don't need that. Taxi and hold short, runway 12. We're going to turn on the beacon light and we are ready to start up. Fuel boost. Starter, ignition. Low idle. We're going to head right back over to St. Barth's, make that challenging landing. And I'm definitely getting ready to get out of this, at least on the world tour, get out of the Caribbean. It's a little bit of a strange section of the world tour because most of our flights, most of the world tour, we're doing airliners. once we get out the Pacific, we're going to be doing island hopping out there, but it's going to be airliners. I mean, the smallest plane we're going to fly is the ATR-72 for a bunch of flights between Fiji and Tuvalu, I think. Or Torkalo or Tuvalu, one of the two. I think Tuvalu. Torkalo, I think, is New Zealand, part of New Zealand. Alright. There. Turn on the avionics 2. Okay. Strobe light on, taxi light on, and let's head out to runway 12. Again, these are not, don't come to me and don't criticize me too much for like the procedures I do, especially in the VFR. I have no idea. I don't have real life flight training, and so I've never gone up in a plane, flying it myself. So I can't really tell you how that works. Oh, there you are. Sorry, I had the wrong. I have the chat up. Go. France to France, yet in the Caribbean. Yep, France to France. Yeah, we've done a lot of that where we've flown basically domestic flight. I mean, in all reality, they are domestic flights, but definitely out, not really where you think of France. And I think St. Martin and St. Barth's are overseas territories. They are not the equivalent of a territory or province within France itself, whereas French Guiana down in South America is. That is a full part of France. It's a large chunk of France, and kind of joked, like the trivia question for that stream was, which country shares the longest land border with France? And that would be Brazil, because it borders, it's the longest border. It has a decent length border with French Guiana, and French Guiana is France, so. Hey Mika, yeah, well it's almost morning here, in a technical sense. Alright, we are not cleared yet. Let's get our clearance from ATC here.
Juliana Tower, Blackfin 120, ready for straight out departure at runway 12.
Blackfin 120, hold short runway 12. Traffic is Cessna Caravan on the runway.
Hold short runway 12, Blackfin 120.
Wait, what? Did you just tell me to hold short for a Cessna that's on the runway? There's this Cessna that's on the runway. There's no Cessna on the runway. I'm the Cessna on the runway. That's funny. Mika, I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Kind of worked 2 night shifts in a row. So I flipped over to nights. As you can see, I'm obviously streaming here at night on my night off. Monday night was hard because I didn't get really any sleep during the day on Monday. I just couldn't sleep. Yesterday got decent sleep because I got home and I was exhausted because it was just terrible.
Blackfin 120, you are not cleared to take off.
No, right now I have the day off. No. Tomorrow morning day I have the day off. Like I have the night off right now. Like this is when I would be working, but I have now off. And so then 6 in the morning I'll head to bed, or around 6, depending how I feel. About 6 o'clock probably I'll head to bed and be ready for work at 6 in the morning or 6 in the evening on a Thursday, right? It'll be Thursday night. Yeah, it gets confusing when you work night shift because you're starting one day and you're ending the next day. You know, we're just going to fly straight down to St. Barth. We're not going to go over to Princess Juliana. Make it less complicated. You fly over there and then you run into the airliners taking off and all that. Minerva, yes, I have flown to Latin America. Yep, did that a while ago. Before we got, I think we, I want to say I did most of South America, then up into Latin America. Well, when I say Latin America, I think in my mind when I was saying Latin America, I was thinking Central America, but, you know, did South America, then up into Central America, then we went into the Caribbean a little bit, got down, knocked out Suriname, French Guiana, and Guyana itself, like just Guyana, I think, which is Dutch originally, and then back up into the Caribbean and been kind of doing a little bit of island hopping here, back and forth, knocking out all the different little different territories and collectivities and all stuff that are considered separate things, I suppose, on Volanta and on my map that I have. That's kind of what I'm determining what a country or territory or area is if it's separate on my map. I want to knock it out and, you know, reveal it. So, like in, you know, in technicalities, right, all these areas here in the Caribbean, like St. Martin and St. Barth, are part of France. Different levels parts of France, right? French Guiana is France. It's the same as metropolitan France. It's the same representation, same powers as any province within France. European France, I mean. St. Barth and St. Martin's a little bit different, but we're flying all of them because they are different areas. Now, we're not going to do that, obviously, for when we get to the United States. I'm not flying into every state. I'm not considering every state separate, even though they would be fun to do. It'd take a long time. But like Puerto Rico, we went to Puerto Rico and we consider it different, even though it's part of the United States, right? But it's not. You know, it's a little bit of a separate thing. Hey, Chris. Welcome in. Oliver. Oh, okay. I was like, Chris. I mean, there are a number of Chris's, but how you doing, Oliver? It's flying down to St. Barth's, and I think from the direction we're coming. Let me see. Yeah, we actually don't even need to go around the island. Maybe we'll do a little fly around the island, just because we have time. I mean, it's such a short flight. Let's just kind of fly around, and we'll fly around, and then we'll approach from the south of the runway, even though we could just approach right here. There's the runway. It's going to be, like, right in there. We'll kind of fly around, look at the scenery. Thanks. Gotta adjust my camera here. Adjust my camera a little bit. Nope. I think I tilted down for the boy. For the boy who is, he is mobile. He is showing off. He's like gonna be 14 months tomorrow, and he's climbing. He's up and down the stairs like nothing. He's running around. He's climbing. You know, anything that's available, he's climbing. He can reach. He can open doors now already. So we've been closing doors when we want to keep him in certain areas of the house, and now it's like, well, that doesn't stop him because he just opens the door. So it's just, he's like when my wife took him to, she'll go to the Chinese church here in town because she's Chinese and she has a lot of friends that go there, and they all love to see him, and there's other babies there also who are older than him. And then he shows off. He's all walking around, and they're all looking at him like, wow, you know, I can't do that. I'm scared to do that. And then they try to do it, and they fall over, and he'll kiss, give him a kiss or something. It's just like, you're just a show off. That's what you are. Yeah, all's well. I'm switched to nights for a while here because it's just been really slow at work. You know, kind of going back to Mika, you know, how I'm doing. It's like, well, whoa, got hit by like a gust of wind or something there. Knocked us off. But yeah, I switched to nights. Monday was kind of hard because the first night back on nights, and really busy, and really tired. Like I couldn't sleep all day, and then as soon as I got to work, then I was really tired. I was kind of fighting. Last night was good. I was wide awake because I had a good sleep during the day yesterday. And then I was listening to a podcast called Pro Pilot Playbook. Why do I keep getting knocked over there? It's like every once in a while, plane just starts turning. See that? I'm wondering, hoping that's not my flight stick, like losing its mind. I feel like it is almost. My flight, I mean, the Z-axis on my flight stick, which I had been using for tiller, doesn't work. It goes out of control. So I wouldn't be surprised if I start losing all my other axes and have to start looking at a new flight stick or something. I was listening to this Pro Pilot's Playbook, which basically, you know, it's a podcast kind of trying to sell their product, which is, and I looked at their product. It's like $12.95 a month or whatever subscription thing, and it, you know, it's kind of a guide. It's kind of a coaching through if you want to get into the into the aviation industry, you know, become a pilot. If you want to become a pilot, you know, how do you do it? How do you go about it? Like, what are good schools to go to? You know, how do you do your training as quickly and as cheap, you know, inexpensively? I don't like this. They say cheap, but again, you don't want to, you know, cheap implies, you know, cheap implies cheapness, right? It's not quality. So I'd say inexpensive as you can, and get to those, you know, get to the lucrative career that aviation can be as quickly as possible. So I listened to that all like last night, and they were just talking about all different things. I just got so inspired. I was just like, oh man, I gotta do it. Like, you know, you know. And again, you know, and then I started looking into a little bit of stuff, and again got discouraged this evening when I was looking into things. I was so encouraged by like how they were talking about it. It's like, okay, this is something that's possible to do. Yeah, you know, you're not going to make a ton of money out of the gate, but it's so worth it because it's something you're going to love doing. You're going to love doing it, and you're going to, you know, and it pays really well. You know, once you pay your dues of, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and you get up to the airlines, or you get a good, a nice corporate job, right? And both these guys are talking about, it's like they work, you know, both of them are corporate pilots, and they work, you know, 3, 4, 5, you know, maybe 10 days a month. You know, and that's one thing that people, you know, a lot of the negative, you know, you hear from, you know, one of the negatives about being an airline pilot or being a pilot is, oh, you're away from your family a lot. And it's like, but if you really think about it, you're away from your family. I mean, if you're working a schedule of 10 to, let's say, 20 days, let's go completely like what you're actually working when you're working a 9 to 5, right? You know, at the extreme end, you're working a 20-day schedule flying, right? You're not always necessarily away from home. You know, there are day trips where you go out and you come back and you are home in the evening. And there are some times where you are away. But again, I think it's made up by, you know, the incredible pay once you get to those situations. Again, early on, it's a whole different story. And so I was feeling very inspired and like, okay, we got to figure out how to do this. We got to make the game plan. Got to make the game plan. Well, and for me, like the whole being away from family is a big deal. But at the same time, is something that we dealt with for, I mean, since my son has been born, I've been working, you know, a day job right here, right? I've been working, I'm home every night. Yeah, I literally work 5 minutes away walking. You know, I can spit and hit where I work. It's right across the street, down the hill, down the track. You know, where I'm based at the place I work is on the, you know, it's a little bit further away, but, you know, I work, you know, my wife and kid will come over and visit, you know, during the summer. I believe. Oh no, still got to get up here. There's the airport. But I think sometimes the whole like pilots being away from their family is a little overblown because, and they were saying it's like it's almost the exact opposite of what people think. People think you're away all the time for your family. It's like it's actually the exact opposite. You're with your family a lot more than most people are. Now, yes, you are away. You know, you do have 2, 3, 4 day trips where you're gone, but then you're home for a week or 2, depending, you know, and as you get more seniority in the career and you get more, you know, experience, you get these jobs where you're, you know, especially if you get like a corporate job, you can get, you know, you're flying someone's jet. You fly when they want to fly, and that might be once a month, and you're getting that salary, but you're still getting paid that fat salary. You know, airlines, you're going to work a little bit more. You know, it all depends on what job you get. But even the airlines, it's like those guys work maybe 15 days. You know, 15 days. You know, and obviously, I think it's how it works. You have that minimum pay, and if you work more than those minimum hours, you're now getting paid overtime, and that's where you start getting those ridiculous, just insane incomes. But yeah, it's like there's that trade-off, and I think, you know, for me, the biggest concern I'm having is the first few years where you're not making you're spending a lot of money, and you're not really making a lot of money. The return on investment is, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, and so you gotta fight that and kind of tighten the belt. And how do we do this? You know, how do we do this? Because, you know, like the job I have right now, okay, I work, and that's enough for us to survive, right? You know, we don't get to save a lot, but my wife doesn't have to work at all right now. When she wants to go back to work, when she wants to go to work, that'll be nice, because then we have a little extra income, right? We can save and for trips or whatever. All right, I'm gonna screw this up because I always forget I don't know all my landmarks on this landing. I turn the landing lights on, right? All right, don't judge me too harsh on this. But the problem with my job is that, okay, I'm making $80,000 a year, but I work 60 hours a week. And I'm already maxed out what I can make at this job. And it's the same place every day. It's kind of like, you know, it busts your butt. It's a job I work, it's hard on the body. It's 60 hours a week to make what I'm making, which is, you know, to make $80,000 a year and make it that my wife doesn't have to work. I'm working 20 hours overtime every week, or a lot of times. I'm relying on overtime. Oh my goodness! I always feel like we're coming in way too fast. Oh geez. Oh man. Okay, we're gonna go around. I always miss it the first time. I always miss this landing the first time. It's such a, but that's why it's a challenging one. It's not a terrible one. It's not like, I don't think it's as bad as like Pero in the A320 out in Nepal or whatever that is. That one I failed epically back in X-Plane. Even after studying all the charts and figuring out how to do that approach. That's why only 4 or 5 pilots are certified to do it. Well, and I think they talked about this. That's like the hard part of being a pilot is not being a pilot. Like flying planes is not that hard. They were even saying, you know, because a lot of people will say it's like, oh, it must be really hard to you know, I'm not smart, or I'm not this, or I'm not, you know, I'm not that chiseled Air Force, you know, that vision we think of pilots, like these chiseled, you know, square jaw, you know, Air Force pilot kind of vision of it. It's like, you know, look at your typical pilot, right? They're average, you know. It's like you need to be decent health, you know. Obviously, if you have massive health issues, but even then, you know, they have it's a cursory medical exam. Right? You know, people make a big fuss over that. It's like, okay, calm down. You know, are you in relatively decent health? You're fine. you know. But it's not, everything's so automated too. Especially as you get further, even, as the planes get bigger even, they get almost easier to fly in the sense that they are so automated. And you get things like auto landing and everything, and, and you have a second pilot a lot of times and all that. Well, I'm not worried about that so much. Again, I'm worried about the financial thing. And even the finance thing, it's like, okay, you take out a loan. You get financing. And the issue is kind of like those lean years, because you look, right now I'm making 80,000. I was looking at, okay, what are some jobs you can do when you're building up those hours? Well, you can be a flight instructor. You can do like pipeline survey, where you fly over the pipelines or power lines, and you see for, check for damage and issues or whatever. But those guys, they make like $30,000 a year. $30,000. So that's a $50,000 pay cut. And I even said to my wife, and I said, it's like, oh, I need to do this flying thing, and she said, yeah, go for it. And I'm like, well, we need to make a plan. We're probably gonna have to sell the house we're in right now. We can't, especially during the training, move in with my parents. Go back, move with my parents, go to the training just down the street here, at the airport. Because we can't afford, I'm making 80,000 right now, and putting 15% away for retirement, and a little bit for savings, but it's like we're scratching after that, right? Now, of course, I could say none of that, but we got a pretty big mortgage. We just can't afford this house if I'm not working a job where I'm making what I'm making. And I said, it's like, but this is a temporary thing. This is a thing that's going to be, 5 years until I get to, to a regional airline where, okay, now I'm making, now I'm back to making 50,000, right? A lot of regionals now are around 50,000 for your first officers getting hired on, especially with this pilot shortage. They're going to keep, those are going to keep going up, signing bonuses and stuff as well. And again, that's just base pay. That doesn't include all your perks and per diems and other things, but again, it's still not as much as I'm making now, but I'm not working as much. And so that's a big thing they talked about too, is leveraging your time, right? You can do other things, right? I could be on YouTube more. I can make YouTube videos, really flesh out the channel and do some stuff. You see all these pilots doing that. It's like, well, where do they get the time to do that? Well, they only work 12 days a month, 13 days a month, whereas I'm working 20 days a month, 12 hours a day, right? All right, here we go. Oh, man. Fast. Get down. Oh, man. Now, luckily on this plane, I have the reversers. Nice firm landing. Mika, I think there's a breakdown of it, but it depends on how long you take, right? Because if you do it, like if you go through a school where they do accelerated, you're going to spend less actually. Because if you could just go down to your local airport, you hire a flight instructor to get your, especially get your private pilot's license, right? Which is the first thing you need. Typically a lot of people are like, well, I'll keep working my job and then I'll go and I'll work my private pilot license. And it takes them, a year or two to just get the private pilot's license. And you're paying, $30 an hour to a flight instructor. The problem is you're going every day or you're going once a week or whatever it is, and it's taking a long time. And because you don't fly almost every day, you start forgetting things. And so then you need to, there needs to be a lot of review. And so then you're spending almost twice as much money because you're reviewing almost every other lesson. Yeah, I feel like this guy's coming in for a landing, and he is not in a good position to do it. It's not going to work, man. Is it? Yeah. Gonna make it? Is he gonna make it? Good idea. Go around. Or maybe he's doing approach. That was a very interesting approach coming over this. This is where you want to be coming down. You just want to come down. You don't want to be turning at the last second because you want to hit the tarmac as soon as possible. We floated, but again, we have those reversers. We just got on the brakes. All right, landing lights off. Let's get over to the gate. I should have... I have the next flight pinned there, the next stream. So click on that, open that one up in another window or whatever. As soon as we do the kind of the final check on this flight, I'm going to end the YouTube stream. I'll start it up, the next one, pretty much right away because I just have to switch a few things on the overlay, get the sim brief, and we'll don't even have to reload anything here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, but how much, Mika? I think it probably, it's like about $100,000. Like if you want to go all the way do airline, right? To go all the way through and get your you need your private pilot's license. You need your instrument rating, multi-engine. You're probably going to get your certified flight instructor thing, which is going to be a couple, you know, $10,000, $20,000 just to do that training. So your CFI, your CFII, which is your certified flight instructor instrument rating. You can then train people on the instrument as well. Or the commercial rate, the commercial certificate, that was, you know, before you get your CFI. What else is there? And once you get to that point, you know, basically once you get your commercial and you have your multi-engine and you have those things, you don't have to become a CFI. You don't have to get your CFI, but it makes sense. You might as well get your CFI, and that's one way to build a lot of hours and makes, you know, decent money. Not a ton of money, but decent money. You know, or you can go and try to get a job, you know, being a pipeline aviator, or you're taking aerial photos for like Google and stuff. There's those. There's banner, you know, you're hauling the banners, the banner flying, crop dusting. There's all kinds of things, but again, they don't pay an insanely great amount of money. But they made the point too that, you know, the way they talked about it, they didn't really mention money at all when they were talking about those jobs. They were talking about the great experiences they had, the things they saw, the things they learned, the time they spent, and how enjoyable those jobs were. Like the one guy he was talking about, one guy did banner pulling. His friend did banner pulling, and what the guy would do, he was banner pulling over the beaches in Florida. He would recline his seat all the way in the plane, whatever he was flying. He would recline all the way. He'd have a pizza, like a 16-inch pizza, sitting in the passenger seat, and a 2-liter, you know, the 2-liter bottle of Pepsi, and he just, you know, go fly up and down the beach, flying the banner, and just, you know, that's the job. And it's like, okay, now again, not getting paid, not breaking the bank, making money, a ton of money there, but you're doing something, you're building towards a great lucrative career, and you're doing something, you're not getting paid a lot to do something you probably should be loving, right? You know, if obviously, you know, if I was doing the job I'm doing right now and I was only getting paid, only making watching these guys try to land in the ATR. I don't know if an ATR could land here. Yeah, but if I was only making $30K at the job I'm doing right now and working the hours I'm doing right now, it's like, and that's the thing, if I only worked 80 hours a month, which a lot of, you know, these, you know, pilot gigs are, you're not working a ton, you're not flying a ton. I'd only be making 30,000. So it's like, in reality, it's the same thing. I'm probably making the same. It's just, okay, we have to adjust our lifestyle based on how much total I'm bringing in, and my wife will have to get a job and stuff. But we're gonna look into it. I'm pretty excited about that, or at least, you know, starting to look at it and make a game plan and go like, you know what, this is something we could do. We just, you know, people do it. Why can't I do it, right? Okay, we're gonna turn everything off here. Alright, I'm kind of rambling, but that's what we do on streams. Let's pull up Valanza, check out the flight, see how rough that landing was. Flight, let's end it. We're the third person to arrive here today. Well, there's a few people. Right, you can see our flight. We did a nice go around the island. Missed that first approach, so we got to go around the north side of the island. Come in for a left turn approach. Landing rate negative 335, so even harder than when we came into St. Martin. But you kind of just got to get it down. And like I said, I don't have a ton of flight training yet in real life or here in the sim, besides the big planes. All right, let's pull up the world tour map here. Actually, I don't really need to, but we'll kind of show off. Just have it on here. There's the world tour map. You can see the Caribbean is pretty much covered. We don't really open up a new one here. We got St. Barth, and we're going to be flying to St. Martin, the Dutch part, Princess Juliana. But from there, we're going to set up and take a little bit longer down to St. Kitts. I say a little bit longer, probably, what, 20-minute flight? And that will set us up for a nice long 3-hour or so flight up to Miami, Florida, which we might do tonight or might save for Sunday night. Alright, so make sure you click on that link for the YouTube for the next stream. And I just want to... So everyone watching on YouTube, thanks for stopping in. We just finished the flight into St. Barth's. You can go back and watch the landing. It wasn't too bad. We're going to be flying up to St. Martin next. There is a link right above. It's pinned for the next stream. Click on that right now. Open it up in another window. I'll be ending the stream as soon as in just a few moments, so we can open up another one. I like to keep my flights in their own streams on YouTube. That way you can go back and watch an individual flight. We're going to be going over to St. Martin in the St. Barth commuter in the same plane, so it'll be basically about 5 minutes for me to just swap out a few things and get ready for that flight. So I will see you over there. Let me just answer Mika's last thing here. You can do it, Martin. Wish I could be a pilot too or a race car driver. Throw that up there. But becoming a race car driver is really off limits. It's insanely expensive. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. There's a big difference there, right? Like, becoming a pilot is insanely expensive. But to get to, you know, especially in the time right now, with such a pilot shortage at the airlines, at the regionals, everyone's looking for pilots. That it's insanely expensive, it's time consuming, you're gonna have to tighten your belt starting out, right? Especially if you're coming from something where you're making pretty good money. I mean, if you're going from being a lawyer or a dentist or a plumber or even my job where I make decent money. I'm making $8,000 a year. But I work 60 hours a week. And it's like, all right, whatever, you know. I deal with that because it allows my wife to not have to work, right? And it pays the bills. But I don't love my job. And I would love to do something else. But pilot training, becoming a pilot is insanely expensive, time consuming, but you stick it out, you pay your dues, 2, 3, 4 years, you're gonna be, you're gonna apply for the regionals, you're gonna have your 1,500 hours, or whatever you have at the point you start applying. And most people just apply right away at 1,500. Why wait? Apply and get in there. And you're gonna get hired by a regional airline because they need pilots. There are regional airlines that are shutting down because they don't have enough pilots. They're not shutting down because there's not enough. COVID's kind of screwed a little things up, but it's as we're starting to spool back up and return to some sense of normalcy. The pilot shortage is still there because you have all these people that need to retire when they're 65. It's mandatory, right? Airline pilots need to retire when they're 65. And so the shortage is still there. You have airlines canceling flights, shutting down, whole airlines just shutting down because they don't have enough pilots. And because all these airlines don't want to shut down, or they're trying to get pilots, it's become incredibly competitive to get pilots. The salaries are going up. The signing bonuses are becoming insane. I mean, I heard them talking, but they were saying like there was one regional where they were offering like $50,000 signing bonus. That's not the way you want to take off. I don't think that works in real life. I don't know if in real life I doubt they do it, but go that direction. But yeah, it's crazy. You know, so the difference, like a race car driver, is such a performance-based thing, right? It's, you know, you got to get it's insanely expensive to field a competitive car that's going to get you to the point where you're making the earnings and winnings and sponsorships and other things to pay for the competitive car. And so, yeah, that's one where it's, you know, that's more of a dream. Whereas, yeah, a pilot, you need to make a plan. You need to, what are you sending me, Icebird? You can try this approach. Let me open that. And once we need to kind of move over to, well, Icebird's over on Twitch, so you know, we'll be on the same stream. But the rest of you guys on YouTube, click on that link, get over to the next stream, and I will switch over to that really soon here. But I'm kind of rambling about. Yep, landing at St. Barth's. Left pattern, runway 28. Really? So they do run runway 28. That's gotta be, I mean, really come in? Land 28? And I'm sure there's like visual cues, right? It looks like you just had that. Like there's visuals. Wow. I didn't know they did runway 28. Yeah, well, it's not unrealistic because, yeah, the difference between race car driver and a pilot is that there's a massive demand for pilots, right? It's kind of like the difference between, you know, I want to be an NBA basketball player, or I want to be a professional soccer football player, right? You know, it's like, yeah, but there's so many people that want to do that and such little demand. Versus the other direction where there's a lot of demand for pilots right now. And it's only going to go up as more and more pilots are forced into retirement, you know, at the airlines. Again, this is I'm talking airlines. And, you know, it's just it's such a barrier to entry. That's the big thing. It's just such a barrier to entry. And there's, again, you have to pay your dues. Whereas something like, for me, it's like I went into trucking. When I went into trucking, I came over back from China in 2019, had maybe a couple $1,000s saved up. You know, but again, we were living with my parents, so it wasn't like needed a ton of money on hand right away. Put a little. I think I paid $500 for the truck school, you know, for the training, and immediately I'm making $65,000 a year. And then I switched to this local job at the same company, and now I'm working 60 hours a week, a lot of overtime, you know, averaging probably 52, 53 hours a week when you really break it down, but a lot of overtime. And I'm making close to $80,000 on an investment of very little, which is a great return on investment. But have to work a lot to do that, whereas becoming a pilot, yeah, you know, if you become a pilot, you spend $100,000 learning and then you quit right away. Well, that's a terrible return, right? But if you go into it and you get with the airlines and you spend 20 years at the airlines, you know, again, I'm 35 years old, so if I start, you know, if I start right now, I'll probably get to the airline, you know, a regional by at least 40 years old, I would think. That's 25 years I have to make money, right? Now you're not making a ton regionals, but once you get bumped up, you know, you get the hours, and you get the hours then, and then you get bumped up to the major, and now you're making your money. And you're making way more in the long run for a lot less work and for probably a lot more fun of a job being a pilot. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. Probably I'm going to be starting to really start digging, trying to figure out, like, okay, how do we do this? What do we do? Bouncing this off of, you know, my parents, seeing like, okay, what can we do? Because I think this is a interesting career move. All right, we just got the plane idling here, so let's turn that off. Stop burning all the fuel. All right, so we talked a bunch there. So click on the YouTube link for the next stream. Not Icebirds. Well, you guys can't see Icebirds. You can see it right there, but he's on Twitch. Click on that YouTube link for the next stream, and I'll see you over there in just about 5 minutes.